100 years ago, the Titanic, the ship that some people had said not even God himself could sink, struck an iceberg on its way to America and sank with a very great loss of life. Little did the people who set sail on the Titanic know what was about to befall them. They were oblivious to the catastrophe facing them until it was too late. Today our society, and probably Western society as a whole, is on a slow burn to catastrophe. This catastrophe is spiritual, moral, social, political, and now economic. The present exponential deterioration of our moral, social, political and economic life is the judgment of God against the spiritual apostasy of the nation. We are living on a social and cultural Titanic that has already struck the iceberg. And just as the people who set out on the Titanic in 1912 did not believe that the ship on which they were sailing could sink, so too the people of our nation do not believe that the collapse of our civilization is possible. But it is. And it is already happening. This social catastrophe is the righteous judgment of God against our godless society. Once the Titanic had struck the iceberg, there was nothing that could be done to save her. The sinking of the Titanic was inevitable at this point. Here the analogy ends, because God is slow to anger and gracious and merciful. If the nation repents and turns back to God, we may be spared the worst of what is otherwise to come. Unfortunately, there appears to be little appetite for such repentance in Britain. When the hammer finally strikes for the last time, the wrath of God will be revealed against all the ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, and the ruination of our culture and our way of life will be complete. In this situation, the mission and the role of the church is of the very greatest importance. It is only through the mission of the church that our society can be delivered from the judgment that will inevitably overtake our nation unless there is national repentance. What is that mission and role? Simply this: the church must function as an alternative social order to the dying social order of secular humanism that surrounds us. In other words, the church must become a true society that functions across the whole spectrum of social life in Britain. For this to happen, the church must wake up to the situation we face and prepare herself for what is coming. She must act decisively now, therefore, with vision and commitment in creating the alternative social order without which our nation must face utter ruin.